RTD Live Talk. We're live for a little late night YouTube stream. And so I wanted to check in and basically just cover some hot topics from today and find out what else is happening in your world. And so today I was on my phone and started getting a lot of notifications. And then I looked at the notifications and it said market's down, 100 points, 200. I'm like, whoa, something's happening. And of course, I've been trying to unplug during the daytime as best as I can, knowing that there's going to be more than enough stuff to talk about in the evenings. And so, of course, I couldn't help myself but dive right in and notice that Jerome Powell was speaking, and he put together like an 11-minute presentation, painting a very gloomy outlook as to what's going on. And of course, if you're in alternative media realm, you're not surprised at all. And I actually listened to some of his presentation, and one of the things, the very first thing that stood out was the point of blame that they're pointing towards in regards to their response to this current environment we're in, which lets me know that, wow, like I knew it was coming. It was always going to need someone or something to blame. And it so happened that it's this current health situation we're facing as the reason. And so want to just check in, share a little bit of that presentation, share some headlines with you, share my 2 cents with it, and then more importantly, get your take on it, because it's always good to connect and to find out what else is going on with you guys. And also a lot of other alternative media gentlemen, from what I've gathered this evening, looks like there's a major crackdown underway. And so we can talk about that as well. But before I dive any further, welcome to the live stream. My name is Mike, the host. As always, if we have any new viewers, feel free to let me know where you're watching from in the chat, and I would definitely love to acknowledge your presence. And then also, if there's anything happening in your neck of the woods that might be worth mentioning, definitely let us know. So we got Miss D, we got M, we got Keston, if I'm saying that correctly, Keston. We got low blood pressure. We got Spirit King. We got M. It says, Mike, I'm aware even before this current situation, we was heading into a recession depression. I'm from the UK. How long can they keep printing currency, the problem away until they can't? Ooh, M, great topic there to start this thing off with. So once again, we can't really put a time on how this thing will completely unravel, but it's happening right now. And so what we're witnessing now is the monetary restructuring that's underway right now, because every government is practicing the same type of response towards this so-called trigger, or the pin that pricked the bubble in a sense. And so how long can it go? Who knows? To my knowledge, it's never been a monetary reset in an age where technology runs our monetary system, because everything is digital nowadays. So they can probably paster or plaster over things a lot longer than they could in a world that was unconnected prior to the internet age. So with them being able to credit and debit, at the click of some keys, that can probably provide a little lifeline for something to stay open until it can't. So one of the things where, as I mentioned last night, my personal opinion is that they want this whole health scare to really run its course, which will give them a couple years to roll out all their one world type government policies while they reboot the system towards a solely digital economy. So no question, no solid answer, just my thoughts on it. But yet I would imagine this is going to be a slow burn until it's not. What that means is basically it's going to be a lot of pain in between now and the time, we're introduced to that new norm, because it's not going to be a nice happy-go-lucky recovery as they might want to paint it, apart from what Jerome Powell mentioned today. So we got Gina says, hi, Mike. We got Christopher says, just started to get my weight up this week in gold and silver. Good deal. We got James. We got BJB. So everyone at work suddenly buying stocks. Definitely ready to pop again. Yeah. And so basically upon my interview I did yesterday with Chris, it's one of them things where you really can't consider what's going on now if you're unaware or uneducated on investing as something that's really something you will want to rely upon. Because in my personal opinion, we reached a point where if everything is induced or propped up by the central banks and all types of market manipulation, that's not investing. That's basically a rigged market that's rigged against you, because I don't think you're going to come out a winner unless you know exactly what your strategy is as far as day trading, which in of itself is legalized gambling in a sense. So ultimately, I consider, unless you actually have a direct strategy that you're using, and if you really can't no one can really control the outcome or control the amount of risk directly. But if you can't hold it, or if you can't get access to it immediately the way that you would like to, then I would consider that gambling. And so that's just my personal opinion there. So I try to minimize my exposure to things that I cannot directly impact within a short time frame, which means get my hands on it or get out of it right away. I would prefer to stay away from it. Says America's DeVille says, Big Mike in the building. How you doing, my friend? You can control the outcome when you understand how things work. David, that's I believe that 100%. So that plays into the line of you can control it if you are knowledgeable in what you're doing. And so if you are one of those people who can actively place your funds in things that you know firsthand and have a lot of success and having done it before, then you probably can navigate the markets a lot easier in whatever investments you're referring to. But the average person, the person that is an average, your usual employee, they're passive investors, which means they park their funds into some account that's recommended by their employer, which is handled by some strangers, which is usually automated through some algorithm trading type thing. So it's those individuals I'm referring to. So what I want to do is dive right into it. I want to rant tonight. I just want to get right into it and then open up the phone lines, get your take on it. It says, David, it says, how can someone be successful when they don't even know where's an eighth continent that exists in our world? Not you personally, but people in general. David, great point there. I'm not familiar with that, so I'm going to leave that alone, and we'll let the chat handle that one. And so the eighth continent of New Zealandia, I'm not knowledgeable of that. And for me personally, that, that's not really a direct financial question that you would take on your one of any of those certified tests to become a investor. And so it says Google Zealandia. Yeah, so I imagine if Zealandia is a real place, which I'm not saying it is, I'll leave that to the next YouTube channel, but those individuals are having the same issues for sure. And so, but yet I'll definitely check into that. Question says, did you know that 1.4 million healthcare workers throughout the country were laid off last month? Google it. I don't doubt it. And so here in the great state of Michigan, we have two of our biggest healthcare providers laid off, a couple thousand each. So I was, firsthand knowledge of it and knew about, so I'm not surprised if that's occurring in all the major metropolitan areas amongst the so-called ramp up of massive hospitals being flooded with all types of people. So just think about that. If they're laying off doctors, that means that those people are sitting around with not much to do. So that lets me know that the primary objective is to roll out the narrative of testing, then that contact tracing mechanism and stuff that rolls on top of that. It says, rethinking it out, it says, if we look at productivity versus wages, we can conclude not everyone needs to work like women in the 50s. The only good alternative to UBI is something like $60 an hour minimum wage. Whew, Spirit. So according to the information you provided, I would imagine that you can probably lay out a good case for that. But it's one of those things where is that $60 an hour going to come from? And so what employer, or assuming the government is going to be providing that $60 an hour, I don't see how that's going to work in the midst of all this chaos right now. Like, I don't see a politician coming out with something like that, even if it was something that could work. We're talking about the reserve currency here. We're talking about the leading nation. And so where the U.S. goes, so does the rest of the world. And I don't think our politicians are smart enough to put together something that looks like that when it comes to an hourly wage for, whoever's able to go out and find that work or sit at home and get that. Because once again, I don't think at this current moment, we're at as I'm about to point to, we're at a point of complete desperation. And of course, it's all about where they're pointing the blame. And so I want to dive right into and share with you. So this is the 11-minute speech here, and I put it at a particular point that I'm going to play it from here. And so for those that may not have had a chance to watch it earlier, you get a chance to listen to a quick couple 30 seconds or so, but just listen to it's a real gloomy, dark picture, which leads to all the other articles I want to share. So I'm going to play this real quick and let you guys hear this.
Among people who were working in February, almost 40% of those in households making less than $40,000 a year had lost a job in March. This reversal of economic fortune has caused a level of pain that is hard to capture in words, as lives are upended amid great uncertainty about the future. This downturn is different from those that came before it. Earlier in the post-World War II period, recessions were sometimes linked to a cycle of high inflation followed by Fed tightening. The lower inflation levels of recent decades have brought a series of long expansions, often accompanied by the buildup of imbalances over time. Asset prices that reached unsupportable levels, for instance, or important sectors of the economy, such as housing, that boomed unsustainably.
Okay.
The current downturn is unique. It is attributable to the virus and the steps taken to limit its fallout. This time, high inflation was not a problem. There was no economy-threatening bubble to pop.
Oh, no bubbles.
And no unsustainable boom to bust.
Oh, no boom to bust.
The virus is the cause, not the usual suspects.
All righty. So I'm gonna stop right there. So, when I heard that, I just couldn't hold myself. I'm like, let me go live stream because this guy's lying through his teeth. Whoever wrote that script, oh my goodness, this is ridiculous. So there was no bubbles to pop. There's no boom. There's no housing. Asset prices were manageable. Okay, of course. And of course, the number he threw out of unemployed sitting at home now is all of a sudden came out of nowhere. And so we had retail for the last year and a half. I've been talking about retail being problematic. They laying off, closing stores up the wazoo. What else? Last September, the repo market went belly up. Something sprung a leak and they started printing billions upon billions. That wasn't mentioned. And so it looks like everything within the last 2 months is the reason why. And he's going to go on to say, that's why the Federal Reserve is responding the way we're responding. I'm thinking like, wow, this guy, this is going to go down in the history books. Jerome Powell will be in the history books as like Ben Bernanke wrote a book after the fact saying that it's because of his quick action that he saved the economy. But yet by him utilizing the concept of quantitative easing, reintroducing that into our system is the reason why this prolonged artificial economy was able to reach this peak to where we are at the point where there's nowhere we can go further other than into more of the same things that didn't work the last 10 years. So the system died 10 years ago. It's flat. We've been on life support for the last 10 years, basically. And with this new talk now of going negative, that really much takes it over the top because no reserve currency has ever been in a position where the issuers of the debt stands to benefit more than those that are willing to invest or gamble by lending or giving away, because you can't get back what you gave to the government if it's in negative territory. So I want to actually just go through a couple more articles here and just share with you the title, not the title, but just some of the headlines, and then come back to this one here. So just the headline itself from the mainstream media paints a very dark picture based upon an 11-minute script this was just given to us. It says Powell says more policy help may be needed. So here's the question, without even diving any further: more policy help. The policy is the reason. The very system in and of itself is the reason. So, of course, his initial thought was more fiscal policy is what's needed right now. And so what does that mean? We have a government, those that we have no true savings. We have our credit is basically on the line here because they're not going to be able to repay anything. So there'll be no borrowers. So the Federal Reserve will have to directly purchase and monetize. And so they're calling for more policy. And the only thing policy they can do is to further expand their balance sheets, further run deficits, and ultimately begin monetizing. And so, as Jerome Powell mentioned a moment ago, there's no signs of inflation. Now, depending on where you're looking at, you'll be able to find some higher prices than, say, 10 years ago, for sure. Look at all the things that's not counted as a part of the CPI, to where they had to adjust and use the PCE. So, yeah, just something to be attentive of, man. So here it says stocks fall as Fed Powell say outlook is highly uncertain. And so the outlook for what we're currently experiencing now is extremely uncertain because the monetary experiment that we're all under, it's unraveling. And so every government is scrambling. There's not a government on this planet that's not scrambling to remain in power, and to retain that power, but more than likely to try to keep social unrest from starting in those countries. And so we know Lebanon right now is going belly up because of their currency basically expired last couple of weeks or last couple of months. And then we got all the other scenarios around the world where there's issues happening pretty much in every country. So it's a scramble to try to present that things are manageable. Stock slides as Fed Powell stocks slide as Fed's Powell warns of possible prolonged recession. And so just these are just words that they extracted, I assume, because I didn't listen to the whole 11 minutes. But so here we got prolonged recession. Recession is, you can't have growth. You can't have a recovery in a prolonged recession. But yet, once again, if all the indicators have surpassed what would have been considered a depression, and the only way people can say that we're not in depression yet is because of technology. Having computers, having, everybody right now, think about this. The country's on a lockdown on top of a majority of a good portion of the workforce being laid off or fired. Those numbers, put that back 80, 90 years ago, give it whatever. No internet. Think about if there was no internet where people were stuck in a house and couldn't communicate or couldn't be distracted by watching Netflix all day and getting overcompensated on unemployment and getting stimulated. People would be in the streets already. People would be in food lines. We have computers and internets and smartphones, and the food lines from certain areas we hear about is already beyond capacity. So the internet and technology has done a good job of being an scapegoat to cover up a depression style environment, because all the same factors plus probably a lot more are prevalent now, just as they were during the Great Depression. And that time frame was a 10-year thing. And I'm not confident that technology can make this, a 5-year thing or 4-year thing, but that's just my 2 cents. And then we got here, it says Dow ends 500 points lower after Fed's Powell says pandemic hit economy is worse since this time frame. And what have the powers that be been talking about? We're up against an invisible enemy. We're going to beat this enemy. We're at war. We're, all those war type things. And look what they're using as a measuring stick for the type of economic policies that's out there that hasn't been seen since World War II. And at that time, we're actually at a physical war. And of course, all wars are, created for a specific agenda. But so anyway, by him just basically coming out and being realistic on the outlook, saying that it's going to be hard. It's going to be rough. It's not going to be a quick recovery. It's going to be something that we will have to struggle with. That's the truth. But then the lie comes in where he points to blame. It was already happening. It was already underway. It was just whether it's going to be a real war or nobody knew a health scare, but it is what it is. So anyway, let me stop ranting and get to some questions. Let's talk a little bit. So as always, give me a call. Let's talk. What do you guys think about this? Is this, just another tremor in the build up to the great quake, to the great crack up boom, or is it here now? I'll be curious to find out what you guys think. And so we got LA is going to be destroyed as state sons. Oh no, it is going to be destroyed beyond repair. Yeah. So yeah, I think my personal opinion is that LA, California, Los Angeles is probably being set up, because there's no way, I don't know the environment out there, first of all, but there's no way right now you can preemptively extend a lockdown into July. And I mean, in a time where I'm sure people are already tired as hell, they're pissed and they are ready to they're probably ignoring everything anyway. But to tell people 3 months is basically setting up the people for failure, because a good portion of the population, especially the younger population, will ignore that, which will be the scapegoat, or which will be the cause for them to say, we need help in LA now. It's getting out of hand here. Please send in some troops, or please send in somebody. And then I saw videos, and I think people even mentioned that they saw, some military type vehicles waiting, so all those vehicles that were brought to LA, could be put in use pretty soon if things get out of hand, because they decided to extend the lockdown, knowing that was something they wanted to do, not necessarily needed to do. But anyway, let me get to some questions. As always, highlight at Silver at rethinking a dollar when we get you going, and go from there. Says Mike, if they can just let me see, I missed a super chat. I apologize for that. Dead and Regret says, Mike, you think gold will dive before all-time highs? Anything is possible. I can never say that it could not. I can imagine that the powers that be will try their best to maintain a hold on that spot price. But as I think Jim Willie mentioned, was the week or two ago, the amount of futures contracts now are at relatively all-time highs, to where it's one of the things where something's going to give. I mean, I would imagine unless you're actively invested and in on the game that they're playing with this spot price manipulation, pretty soon you're going to want to test it and get your physical to some point, to where there's going to be some issues. And I think they're going to lose control of that eventually. But it's one of those things where whether it dips a little bit lower or if it stays the same, if you go on Mint, usmint.gov and try to get a gold anything, you're going to pay $2,300 plus. So it don't matter what the spot price is. You're still going to pay something plus an excessive premium. So whatever's lost in the spot price will be made up in the premium, because we're at a point now where I don't think any bullion dealers or anybody holding weight will be willing to accept anything less than what an overinflated premium might bring them, because they're not willing to take a loss right now. Especially metals, as well as some other things, are proven to be something that you really want to have in your possession as all this stuff unwinds, because it's something that you can say is yours if it's in your possession, unlike a lot of other financial products that we've been dealt. Let me see. So so make sure you highlight so it'll stand out, because if not, Mike, it says, "Hey Mike, what happens to the supply chains and resources at the current amounts when America goes into a big war? Does that increase the price of commodities and essentially goods since demand goes up?" That's 400. That sounds about right to me, my friend. And so I saw something today about the supply chain in regards to food. And we know the crackdown on the meat distributors or whatnot, and the dairy products and all those other things that I'm not even aware of. So if you're aware of any other, resources out there that or food industry that's been impacted at the manufacturing level, let us know. But yeah, definitely, I would imagine prices will go up, because the Federal Reserve and federal government, they're committed to keeping this thing afloat as long as they can. And of course, unfortunately, the primary agenda is to buy some time so that they can, input that the health tactics, all the stuff they want to put on us because of the health scare. And so all these new phrases coming about. We had social distancing, which came out first. Now we got contact tracing. Then what else we got? Some other words that's out there that are going to become primary buzzwords. And even today, I meant to do a video earlier, but I just was like, man, take some time away from it. But the airline industry. And so right now, some airlines are attempting to get back to operating a little bit. And so one of the reporters mentioned that there's 2 new pandemic responses that airline and airports are throwing out there. And one of them is something that I mentioned a few weeks ago that's happening in Hong Kong. And so it's like, okay, are we copying what they're doing over there as a protection measurement, or was that something that was just already rolled out and ready to be done? And so here we have it now. But they said is once you walk in the airport, you're going to be sprayed down with a disinfectant. And then the second one is your bag has to go through this special checking thing, which puts UV light on it to disinfect it. And then there'll be no more standing in lines to check in. There's going to have a number on your ticket at the gate. When that number goes off, that's when it's your turn. So there's basically the whole premise of that was make sure you arrive a couple hours early because you're going to need it. And so when I saw that, I'm like, man, come on now. I've already been paying more than enough attention as to what's been happening over the last 20 years with what happened after the last hiccup we had, where TSA was formed, and we know all the policies that came about from that, basically the introduction officially of the surveillance state. And here we are now talking about them needing to disinfect us in order to walk to the airport and all that stuff like that. So this is just stuff they're planning on doing. Not sure how well it's going to fly, if it's going to work. But it's one of those things where that's what's being talked about. So these are all the plans that are in the works for what they would like to see occur. So with that being the case, you kind of got an insight as to what they want to roll out out there, what they want to roll out to us. But anyway, let me get these phone lines open. So feel free. Let's talk. I want to hear somebody's voice. Give me a call. And as always, if you're new to the channel, you're enjoying the back and forth, communicate via the chat, connect with the community, and then also make sure you subscribe, because I got a feeling that based upon all my other counterparts in the sector, going to have some issues real soon. If I'm doing a good job, I should. Not wanting it, but it might happen. But anyway, also definitely, this is a time where we probably need to begin really considering as to how far we're willing to go to resist what's being planned on our behalf that's supposed to be in our best interest. So those are all things that I've been thinking about lately, and I pretty much came to the conclusion that we're going to reach a point where either if we don't get to the point where we start looking to collectively, however that happens, I don't know. However, if we don't collectively begin to formulate some type of resistance, then we're going to spend the rest of our lives regretting having stood by and watched as things were just handed out to us, supposedly in our best interest, and we didn't have any say so on it. And so I'm not sure what that's going to look like, but yet I just feel that that's something that I'm probably going to start talking more about that. But that's just me, man. That is just me. And so, as always, just talk. Give me a call or just highlight in the chat. We can talk a little bit more there. Won't be on much longer. Just wanted to check in, share with you some primary stories. And for those that came in late, I played a video. I actually put it up on the channel. Put it up where I played a little bit of Mr. Jerome Powell's speech where he pointed the blame. And I'll play it again for those that might be interested in hearing it. But let me get to this call real quick, and then we'll go from there. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Gerard calling from North Carolina.
Gerard from North Carolina. How you doing, my friend?
Good. How's it going?
Not bad at all. Not bad at all. Give me some good news.
Good news is that I'm well, and everybody around me is well. So it doesn't just not having any immediate effects. Everybody's well within family and friends. So that's good news.
Yes, it is.
And not struggling financially. I was prepared for all this. Because I'm a good saver and frugal, and so I was prepared for this. Mm-hmm. But I went to Costco last night, and my chicken that I normally buy for $14 is now $26.
Hold on. You say $14 and $26?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
I guess no inflation there. Go ahead.
Yes, so I guess I was very, very surprised. Yeah, the chicken that I normally buy, it was like a 10-pound bag of chicken breast. Mm-hmm. It was normally $14, and it's now $26. And I don't wear a mask anywhere I go. But when I went right before when I got to the store, the guy stopped me right there, and he said, "You can't come in here, sir, without a mask." I said, "I don't have one." Mm-hmm. And then he reached into a box, and he said, "Well, you got to put this on, or you got to leave." So. That was the first time I have encountered that anywhere. Yeah. So, yeah.
Oh my goodness.
And then I thought about something else. I was just curious. I called Tractor Supply today, and I said, "Hey, do y'all have any baby chicks for sale?" Mm-hmm. And they said no, but we sold out, but we get the new shipment in tomorrow. Mm-hmm. And I said, "Well, how much are your baby chicks?" And they said $3.99 each. Uh-huh. So evidently people are buying chickens, even baby chicks, to grow themselves for eggs and for meat. So just thought that was interesting. So if anybody's looking for baby chicks, then believe it or not, Tractor Supply sells them.
Tractor Supply. All right, man. Well, hey, I appreciate you. Thanks for keeping us up to date with that and letting us know what's going on in your world, man. It's good to hear everything's good on the surface and that you have been taking some precautionary measures well beforehand. So appreciate you calling in.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, be good. Yeah, man, that's interesting. So I guess as Mr. Jerome Powell mentioned in this little interview here, there's no inflation. So I want to acknowledge those super chats. I appreciate that. We have Janet Holmes with a super sticker. I appreciate that love offering to the channel. And then also Truth or Nothing. I appreciate that as well. Thank you. And so, man, this I saw, let me see, 3 or 4 of my alternative media counterparts talk about their channels being demonetized. And so that's a part of the censoring the truth or censoring an alternative version to what they want us to believe is their truth. But it is what it is. So for those that's coming in late, I started off by playing a little bit of this video here from Jerome Powell, and I'll touch on it briefly here. go right to the nitty gritty of his discussion. But he's basically painting a very dark picture. You know, nothing, we haven't experienced this type of thing since World War II, and but the economy is doing fine until then. He's going to point the blame as to what it is.
Attributable to the virus and the steps taken to limit its fallout unsustainably. The current downturn is unique in that it is attributable to the virus and the steps taken to limit its fallout. This time, high inflation was not a problem. There was no
$26 chicken
threatening bubble to pop.
Housing's
no
unaffordable.
Boom to bust.
Oh yeah, okay.
The virus
Anyway,
is the cause, not the usual suspects.
the virus is a call, not the usual suspects. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Mike, Tim, I don't know how you can listen to that. I want to throw up when I listen to that stuff.
Oh man, it's just something to remind myself of how behind the curve they are to the alternative media. Like, we already knew that they were going to be pointing the blame at something else. But anyway, go ahead, my friend. What's on your mind?
What's it feel like to be in Clown Town?
I've been here for a while, man, so I'm kind of used to it. It's just one of those things where I just feel like, especially as I find out about more things happening around us, it just kind of puts a little bit of rain on my parade. But I'm trying to really keep my spirits high, and so that's one thing I really focus on. Anyway,
sorry, you're talking to the wrong guy, because this is a full court press we got going here. It's on. They can't stop now.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Oh man.
All right, brother. Will you stay strong? Keep up the good work. Don't let it get you down. And I don't have any answers, so.
Neither do I. But yeah, we'll be all right, man.
That's all we got.
All right, boss man. Appreciate you. Have a good night.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good stuff as always. Appreciate you. So yeah, man. So from that video there, it's just one of those things where I'm like, wow. So everything falls on the fact that we're all facing this current health scare, and that's the reason why they're responding. Not mentioning that something happened last September, and it was something happening well before then. But yeah, I guess that's not important. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey there, it's Typo from Massachusetts. How are you?
I'm doing good, Typo. How are you doing?
Good, thanks. Hey, just wanted to give you a quick update from Massachusetts. They are shocked and masked on, and they had no idea.
Mm-hmm.
And most people now are just they're in shock that there's limited goods in the store. They're in shock that the temperature is cold.
Mm-hmm.
And there's talk of seeds like it's a brand new thing. Like,
mm-hmm.
Hey, I have this royally great idea. I think I might buy some seeds.
Yeah. Yeah, man. It's a lot of people out there like that. So that's so it's good to know that there are some people out there who have been ahead of the curve slightly. And so it's one of those things where we're witnessing what it's like to wait to the last minute for, in a lot of instances in our lives. But just the fact that you have a little bit of something puts you ahead of the masses. And that goes in with, precious metals as well. Just having a little something puts you well above the masses, because most people are still unaware. So it's good to know that you're ahead of the curve.
Yes, it is. And I sit in my front room and I wrap my food in Mylar with my Scary George coin. And when I do have visitors for my kids, they look at me kind of oddly.
Mm-hmm.
And they just watch. They don't say anything. They just watch.
Yeah.
And I say, this would be a good idea. This will save you some money.
Yeah.
And they change the subject. And then they I know it's registering in the back of their head. They don't want to say anything, but it's registering. So we're coming along. And so now the shift is really about trying to figure out using maybe the Neighbors app.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hearing people down in the downtown area of my town, and I'm right near the New Hampshire border.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hearing people say what they're out of.
Mm-hmm.
And, hey, Susie's out of this, and June's out of this. And so I think community and starting to rely on each other is just at the very first start. And I'm looking forward to rebuilding.
Yeah. All right. I appreciate you. Well, stay safe out there, and thanks for calling in. It's good to hear your voice.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Yep, you too. Yeah, good stuff. Good to hear from her. So yeah, so keeping the moving right along. So as always, let me know where you're watching in from. Check in with me and let me know what's happening in your neck of the woods. Love to do that. And then so just as we get ready to wind down eventually, I want to share some of my thoughts on what we can continue to expect more of as this thing continues to unride. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, Boots on the ground out of Beaumont.
Boots on the ground. How you doing, my friend? What's on your mind?
That little idea I was talking about last week about getting my weight up in beef.
Yeah.
I started working on it, and that turned into a business plan.
All right, what you got for us? Share a little bit of that with us.
Well, what it is basically is that, I mean, since everybody listens to you anyway, you know, I was looking at as a community on the RTD that people can get together and bring their talents to the table. Maybe we can put this thing together and actually get something going.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm definitely about that. I would love to be a connection piece for all the people out there to put their gifts to use as well as their resources to help the community. So I'm definitely open to ideas.
Yeah, so like I said, it turned into a business plan. So I'm happy to get a little bit more detail than just blurt it out.
Mm-hmm. We'll do this, man. Well, shoot me an email. Go to rethinkingdollar.com. Look in the top left-hand corner. Shoot me an email. And keep me in the loop with that, man. And if I can help, I'd love to help out.
Yeah, is that what I was looking at there? It's the top left hand. It says admin at rethinkingdollar.com.
Correct. That's me.
Okay, because I was confused. I said administration. I said, I don't know if that's the right one.
Yeah, just admin at rethinkingdollar.com. That'll get right to me.
All right.
All right, my man. Appreciate you calling.
All right, thanks.
Yeah. Yeah, man. And so so that's where like right now in the midst of uncertainty, innovation is a great opportunity. It's great to be innovative and come up with new ways of doing things in a new way to help other people. So if anybody got ideas, feel free to keep me in the loop. I would love to find out about them. It says, Everyday Mike doesn't have a gold chain. I lose a little respect for him. A gold chain. Well, bar light broker. I'm not a jewelry type of guy directly. I like my gold, but I like my silver more. So I do have silver chains, but the gold chains, I mean, I wouldn't really wear it, man. Like apart from just my coins and my bars, I don't really do the chains. But I thought about doing an RTD gold pendant with a chain on it, but I looked at the prices a little bit too much to have it handmade and all that stuff like that. So. But, if you want to, on my address, want to donate a gold chain to me, I'll wear it for you, my man, if you want me to. So just let me know. White gold. We're like, yeah, okay. Okay, yeah, my wedding ring. I got my wedding ring is white gold, but yeah. So that's the thing. I'm not a jewelry. I don't really wear jewelry like that. And so, I mean, I wouldn't mind having a gold watch. You want to throw the Rolex my way. You want to let me borrow yours. I'll definitely wear it and give you credit for it if you want to send it my way. Oh man, let me see. It's the silver chains are for pets, but yet silver chains for pets. But yet, as long as that thing retains some value and allow me to, at a future date, liquidate it to get something else that cash flows, I'll take it. This is low profile, gray, avoid robbery. Oh man. So with that being the case, let's get ready to dial back. I appreciate everybody hanging out with me, but I want to share my little 2 cents before I dial back. And so yeah, now that Jerome Powell has he's confessed that this is going to be a prolonged event. He lied and saying the blame. So what's coming next is more of a shock of what they can bring out of their toolkit. Because what they're trying to do is they're trying to hold off and push a little of the responsibility of further injecting into the economy from a fiscal standpoint. So what they are encouraging the Congress to do is to borrow. They're saying, hey, you guys need to get this thing rolling. Like, so for example, I did a video last night about $3 trillion. That's Pelosi talking about that today. So $3 trillion, that's just another month. That's just another 2 or 3 weeks worth of stimulus that can be put to something. Jerome Powell is basically saying, hey, you need to really crank it up. Like, we're at zero now. It's not going to be any cheaper. Trump won't negative. So they're like, we got to start borrowing because we ain't paying this back. Let's get all we can. Anyway, caller, do me a favor. Mute the chat. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Los Angeles, California. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing good, my friend. What's on your mind?
Not much. I just want to call and give you a little update about the Los Angeles over here.
Okay, go ahead.
It's getting better. I mean, there's a lot of restaurants opening up now. They're just doing this 6 feet distancing.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot of little moms and pop shops that are not opening up, bro. And I can probably think that they're not going to come back.
Yeah.
But all the major liquor stores, of course, never closed.
Right.
Marijuana shops never closed.
Right.
But all the mom and shop hardware stores are all closed. I'm I'm a mechanic and I'm into construction, so
yeah,
I'm just noticing it's kind of weird, but it's getting better. But now they just extended our staying at home, so we don't know when we're gonna get out. Probably December the 3rd.
Yeah.
Like till the election comes or something. Who knows what these guys? They're flexing their power, man. The mayor and the governor.
Yeah.
And they've never had this power, so they probably feel good. They're saying no, stay home.
Yeah. So the only difference between your lockdown and mine is that you guys have pretty much good weather year round. Where here in the D, we got 4 seasons. So I only got 3 or 4 months to get out of the house and enjoy outside. So I can't stay this. I can't take this lockdown like that because we in the house for fall and winter. So.
Oh man.
But hey, man.
I bet there's not that much traffic over here, bro. The traffic has died down.
Yeah.
We were stuck in going 10 miles would take like 2 hours. Now it's like you're there in 3 minutes. You're like, it feels weird driving out.
Yeah.
And they're giving stimulus checks. Some of my neighbors are getting their stimulus checks.
Mm-hmm.
And I was talking to one of my neighbors. He goes, I'm getting more money now, not going to work because I don't have to spend on gas and the lunch over there. And he's mountain biking. And, a few neighbors are like, this is cool, but, they could give everybody $1 million. But what are we going to spend it on if we don't have any manufacturing? This is going to get crazy in the near future, brother.
Yeah. I agree, man. So I appreciate you calling, and good to hear from you out in California, my friend.
All right, brother.
All right, be good. Yeah, man. So, pick up where I left off at. So, Jerome Powell, basically, with that little speech, is encouraging Congress or the president especially, like right now is the time to roll out an infrastructure plan, roll out a further stimulus plan. I mean, whatever name they want to give it, they can roll it out right now because they need the U.S. to lead the way in expanding their balance sheet by borrowing. So they announcing that 20-year Treasury bond. 20-year bond next week, I think. So that's another new product that spun out that hasn't been done since the wartime. So they're going to have more than enough stuff they can purchase or monetize, rather. And then once again, it's only so much you can create and throw out there before it started to show up in prices. And as the caller mentioned earlier, the meat is going to be one issue. Dairy products could be another issue. So all the necessities, everything that they could not find inflation with will rear its head above water. At the same time that there's going to be some deflation out there because there's going to be some correction in all those overinflated assets such as housing and even the equities markets, even though they're going to go up. But yet I still got my concerns with that because here's an article here that paints a very unfortunate picture. Here we have an investor. It says, David Tepper says this is the second most overvalued stock market he's ever seen behind only 99. And so if this is an overvalued stock market, which we all know, and so once again, did our interview yesterday. Check that out if you want to find out more about that. But if it's this overvalued, that means all these big wigs are betting against it. So only people left in it are the passive investors. Only people are in it are the employees, those that have their automatic deductions taken out and put into those accounts. And those are the ones that will be caught up in the mix. And so basically they're going to be stuck in the system. But once again, none of this is new. It's happened before, not to this magnitude, but I believe a lot of people never learn their lesson, and so they have to learn the hard way, unfortunately. But I'm at a point now where unless you, like I even asked Chris yesterday, is like, my concern with the concept of investing and gambling. Right now they're running neck and neck. Unless you know what you're doing, unless you got a game plan that you actively have tested throughout prior recessions and know what you're doing, you put yourself in danger. And so I'm in the mindset. I just feel more comfortable not participating in something that I personally can't control, something that I know is rigged against me, and something that I just don't have confidence in. Like, I'm more than confident in the fact that as a response to this current market correction, through the activities of fiscal and monetary policy, by them expanding their balance sheets, running deficits up to the wazoo, as a result of all that, anything that's labeled as a monetary instrument will do extremely well as by default. And so I feel more comfortable just sitting on the sidelines and just not participating in stuff that, I know is their intention for them is not for me to win. And so, yeah, that's just my personal opinion. And I'm going to leave it at that. If the media shutdown for the week, virus would end. I think if the media dial back on overblowing how severe all the setup that they're trying to put in place really is happening, then I think a lot of people would low key probably not forget about it, but it'll be a lot more acceptable for people to get together with no problem. So, but anyway, that's all she wrote. Let's dial it back. I appreciate everybody hanging out with me tonight. As always, I want to point you guys to some opportunities to connect with me, because once again, I imagine pretty soon there's going to be some issues with streaming on YouTube because of everything that's going on. So if you haven't, go to rethinkingthedollar.com and do a blog there throughout the day. Got some resources here. I got my 4 steps to unplug. Got all my videos here. And then more importantly, join the RTD social media group. Like there, I tell people, post your articles in there. Anything important to you, post it in there. I'm in there every day. I check it out. So it's a good way to stay connected with the community. And then also, if you want to support the channel, I put you here on the wall of fame where all my supporters on Patreon definitely go up here. So you can have your name up here. And if you have a business, I even offer a lot of these people to highlight your business so that you can get a little publicity as well. So want to make sure I bring that to your attention. And then last thing, last but not least, the RTD Scary George still available. As long as silver is still sourceable, I'm going to make sure this coin is able to be purchased. So, of course, me personally, I'm a user of my own product. So I enjoy having an opportunity to present it for you guys as well. So that being the case, be blessed, be safe. I will see you guys tomorrow, hopefully, Lord willing. Peace.